Today, let's resolve the confusion around emotional or stress eating. Here's the confusion that comes up for some people. One, you're emotionally eating and you know you're eating because you're stressed. But then when asked about it, when you reflect, if you ask, hey, do you eat when you're stressed? When you're stressed out, do you eat? And you think, and the answer is no, I don't eat when I'm stressed. I stop eating. That is a confusing topic for a lot of people because I've had mixed answers where someone might say, I don't eat when I'm stressed. The other person says, I eat when I'm stressed. And we know emotional eating is a thing. So how do we resolve this confusion? Does stress cause eating or does stress prevent you from eating? Let's dive into that. Okay, so the reason I'm bringing this up is because I was just in the library and I assume she's successful because the way she dressed and how she kind of spoke with authority, and I could be wrong, but she sat down in front of me and said, I got 20 minutes to learn your spiel. She didn't say spiel, but I was put on the defensive a little bit. I was like, oh wow, this is a upfront, straightforward woman who's dressed in a professional way. And she said, I got 20 minutes or so for me to hear what you have to say about stopping binge eating. And so took a big breath and I said, okay, so I'm not just going to tell you how to do it. I'm going to ask questions, see if I can personalize it for you. She said, okay, that's fine. So I started asking some questions. Very quickly, we figured out that self-care was non-existent for her, and self-care is a theme I'll come back to later on in this conversation. Today, I'm going to be covering a limiting mindset this woman had that prevented her from realizing her potential around stress eating. I'm going to talk about the key insight she had around stress eating. I'm going to give you a practical tip that'll give you permission to have chocolate milkshakes to stop reducing stress. The limiting belief is that if you're taking care of yourself, you're not being productive. So this woman, I said, are you taking care of yourself? And she said, yeah, that's come up in conversation before, but she said, I have a child who has some mental problems. I have to remain at home a lot of the day. I am a caretaker and I have a demanding role at work. I am constantly juggling. I do not have time to do self-care. And I said, okay, I hear you. Tell me about binge eating. How many minutes do you binge eat? She said, a fair amount. She kind of said, I kind of looked at her, tilted my head a little sideways, like, how much? She was like, at least an hour every other day. And I didn't say this, but I've heard kind of these answers before where they kind of lowball it, right? Like, oh, just an hour every other day. In the back of my head, I'm like, okay, that's more time than she's admitting, but we don't need to call her on that. I understand. So I then ask, why do you think binge eating could be a form of self-care? And bam, that got her. Woo! Yes! That got her to pause in her tracks. I said, what if binge eating is your way of turning off your mind and disconnecting from work and feeling good? Because binge eating feels good. It feels good. Why would you do it if it didn't feel good? There's elements of binge eating that feel good. That's why it's so hard to stop. Part of it is because it actually feels good. If it was all bad, like sticking your hand in a fire pit where you feel tremendous pain and there's no benefits, you wouldn't do that. You don't stick your hand in fireplaces, right? But you binge eat. Why do you binge eat? It feels good. It disconnects your body from all the work. So the key thing, she said, I don't take care of myself because if I take care of myself, I'm not being productive. I think that if I'm not productive, I feel guilty. I said, okay, let's dance with that belief. Let's dance. I don't want to just correct you. When I work with people, I don't just correct people and say, no, that's a silly way of thinking. No, that's a belief you have. And the only way to shift the belief is to dance with it, to let it in, to talk about it, to roll with it. So she says, I feel guilty if I'm productive. And then it's like, okay, let's roll with that. So are you productive when you binge eat? No. Okay, so what would it look like? Maybe, do you think maybe taking care of yourself would help reduce the binge eating? So you'd spend the same amount of time, but now you're taking care of yourself. Your binge eating is going down. It's the same amount of time, but now you're taking care of yourself and you're feeling better. Kind of got her to think a little bit. And then I said, talk to me about emotional eating. This is where the confusion that originally I started off this episode with. She said, yeah, so, emotional eating. She said, I don't eat when I'm stressed. Like, I don't eat when I'm stressed. Like, I will go all day without eating. And I was like, okay. I was like, when do you binge eat, though, the most? And she's like, when I'm stressed. And she could kind of, like, hear the discrepancy, right? She said, I don't eat when I'm stressed. And then she said, I do eat when I'm stressed. And so I then asked her, now, when you binge eat and you're stressed, are you hungry? This was the thing. She said, no, I'm really eating because I'm stressed. She kind of paused. It's like, yeah, I'm eating because I'm stressed, not because I'm hungry. That's the key thing. Stress eating, there's two forms. There's two kind of separate categories of it. When you're in stress, it's like you're in fight or flight mode, right? Fight, flight, or freeze. They added the freeze. So in caveman days, there would be a saber-toothed tiger, right? If you saw a saber-toothed tiger, you'd feel tremendous stress in your body, and you would do fight, flight, or freeze. So all the blood from your stomach would go to your external organs so you could run away or fight this saber-toothed tiger. Nowadays, we don't have a saber-toothed tiger. We have deadlines. We have bosses. We have time. We don't have enough time in it. It's deadlines and it's crushing. We still have stress. It's the same response in our body. There's no saber-toothed tigers. So when you feel stressed, the blood goes out of your organs and into your extremities, your arms and legs, so you can run faster. When the blood is out of your belly, you're not hungry. There's no blood in there. There's no signals, and you're not hungry. So that's why you don't feel hungry when you're stressed. But then stress doesn't feel good. It feels horrible. I hate feeling stressed. I hate it. And so that feeling of doesn't feel good, well, guess how you can get rid of it? Guess how your body naturally wants to return to a safe place. A safe place is the opposite of fight, flight, or freeze. So your safe place, your body wants to return to safety. You're stressed out, you're not feeling good. Food then becomes how you return to safety. When you're eating food and you're hungry, right, because you haven't eaten in a while, the food tastes really good. And you're stressed out and you eat way too much because you're starving and you're disconnected from your hunger. And then you feel horrible because you ate too much. And you feel bloated and you might even throw up. And you feel guilty and your stomach is stretched beyond a point of fullness. You're sitting back in your car or wherever secret place you have, and now you're stretched out and you're feeling horrible, and you got to get back to work. And when is this cycle going to end? The cycle is going to end when you substitute and shift away from binging to take care of yourself to taking care of yourself. Now, before you devalue self-care, I'm in an intuitive eating course, and one of the first lessons they have people do is self-care. Because without self-care, it's really hard to listen to hunger. If you can't listen to hunger and fullness and emotional satisfaction, it's hard to tap into your power of your intuition. The power of your intuition can instantly, if you're harnessed it can instantly transform everything. But the conditions have to be right for you to harness your intuition. If you can't feel your fullness, if you're then if you can't feel your body's signals, you can never tap into your intuition. And can you feel your body's signals if you're not practicing self-care? You cannot. It's that important. The worksheet that in the intuitive eating course they gave us on self-care was, they said they got this from the government, and the government had a how to reduce homelessness. They would give homeless people skills to get off the streets. And self-care was considered to be a life-saving skill. It's highly important. You cannot expect to tap into the amazing powers of your intuition, which open up the floodgates for making peace with food, presence in relationships, clarity of mind. You cannot tap into those benefits without taking care of yourself. Self-care is the foundation. The other day, I'll link to this video below, and go ahead and comment or like or leave a thumbs up if you're enjoying this video, but I'll leave a link below to another video about taking your meds daily. Meds, M-E-D-S, meditation, exercise or movement, diet, and sleep. And sleep is a hard one, don't get me wrong. Like, my sleeping ritual is elaborate. I drink some, sorry, you can't see if you're watching the YouTube video, but I will have some chamomile tea. I have to put down my phone. I go downstairs to get out of my bedroom. I drink the chamomile tea while I read a little bit of a book. I have a quiet room, and it's all dim. I have earplugs, and even then, I have to do these muscle squeezings where you squeeze your muscles, and then I have to do a mantra as I go to bed. So it takes me, like, even with all that, like, a while to wind down. It's like a discipline. But without self-care, I'm hopeless. My productivity goes down. That's the lie people say. They say, if I'm not productive, then I'm going to fall behind. And it's just not true. You're going to fall behind if you don't take care of yourself. Okay? So that's the limiting belief, and that's the insight that people have, is that if you don't take care of yourself, the insight is that stress prevents hunger, but then makes you hungry. Stress prevents you from feeling hungry, and then it overwhelms you, and you use food to reduce your overwhelmed feelings. So that's why that explains this dilemma with stress eating. And then, lastly, the final thing I'll mention is that when you're just wrapping your head around this whole self-care thing, it can be a big paradigm shift. If you're living a chaotic lifestyle, taking care of someone, and working a successful job like this woman, and taking no time for yourself, and you don't have any idea how to take care of yourself or what your hunger feels like, if you're in a chaotic state, you can use food to take care of yourself. And let me explain. If you're not eating during the day, if you're in that stress mode for 8 hours or whatever, and you're just going, you're like driving off a cliff. You're going to be able to go fine, but then eventually, all of a sudden, you're off the cliff and you're done. So food that you will eat, because sometimes when you're in that stressful state, you don't want to eat. Food seems repulsive. Like, you're like, the last thing I want to do is eat right now. But there are some foods when you're like that, when you're in stress, that you actually are willing to eat. A chocolate milkshake. This woman said, like, yeah, I could eat a chocolate milkshake, a little one. Maybe it's a Slurpee food. Maybe it's some melted ice cream. Maybe it's something unhealthy. But getting a little bit of food in your belly can help you to help you return to that place of safety, and can help you get out of that stress cycle, okay? Even if it's a sugary food. Really harness those feelings of being safe with the food, and carve a few minutes out of your day to really let your body relax, eat that food mindfully, treat yourself with sugary food. Treating yourself with sugary food, or whatever food you want, can be a form of self-care in the beginning. Okay, I don't want to say, like, But in the beginning, when if you have no concept of self-care in your chaotic lifestyle, food can be a anchor to bring you back into your body and take care of yourself. We need you to take care of yourself before you can tap into your powers of intuition. So, with that being said, if you do need a little bit of help on self-care, just go to the website, read the resources, book a session with me, whatever have you. And best of luck on your journey. Let's tap into the power of our intuition and make lives better. Peace.